Uzi, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I was so excited for the space today. Had a lot of coffee. I do have to run quickly, but I wanted to
Hmm.
mention two things: the Tesla Mezcal, whatever it's called, and then also there was a Tesla car in Indiana yesterday, which was a police officer. So that was awesome. Police are buying Teslas. Like, wow.
That's awesome. Thank you for mentioning. All right. I guess you're leaving soon.
I will try to stay on. My boss is going to call me any second. I'm so
Oh,
amped
okay.
up.
Okay. Cool. Well, let's do a quick data check here. Tesla is up 2%, $178.42 per share. Overall markets are flat. Small cap stocks are down 0.7%. Nvidia down 1.8%. Industrials, utilities are down. We'll continue with that. Hey, Parker, I've been seeing your messages that you're that you're asking for, and you didn't realize why Omar blocked you, right? Why do you think he blocked you?
Because honestly, the way I said it was a little rude, but I mean, I had to speak the truth because, I was just kind of fed up with people that are claiming that full self-driving can do all these things. And when in reality, I mean, you still got to make sure it's supervised and all that stuff. And I think Omar at one point was kind of putting the perspective of where FSD technology was in a bad place for people and users. So I said it publicly.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's true though. Omar has always said in here, I don't know, like I didn't read all his tweets, but in here he's always maintained that Tesla FSD needs supervision. So I don't think the claim you were making is correct. So I'm not surprised that he blocked you, to be honest with you.
Well, he unblocked me now. So.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I'm happy for you. Joey, how are you?
I'm good.
So you got your new Model 3?
Yeah, I couldn't really wait for the performance. It was gonna be like another couple of weeks to even longer. So I just ordered last week. I ordered a gray on black, but that got delayed in transport yesterday, so they pushed me to Friday at noon. But then I checked this morning and I got it's $2,000 savings on the stealth gray. It was gonna be so I basically got ultra red for $2,000 cheaper. Yeah,
That's great.
paid like $10 for a $2,000 paint color.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that's going to be an amazing vehicle, ultra red. And do you have the white seats?
No, they didn't have any white seats in stock. Actually, they only had black, like nothing white.
Hmm. Okay, well, that's great, man. I'm happy for you. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I wanted the white, but it was just gonna be like they had like nothing. And I
When
got
are
like
you
the
getting
last
your delivery, you said?
tomorrow at noon, so that's noon Eastern. So it's like, yeah, everything's all set pretty
Awesome.
much.
Well, I expect a detailed review when you get back.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be detailed. Just let us know how you like it.
Yeah, I definitely will.
All right. Any questions, comments? Please request to speak. Let's see. This morning we got the initial weekly claims all higher than expected. Productivity revised lower than before, and unit labor costs were lower as well. So I think at this point nobody's concerned about inflation reaccelerating, and it looks like the probability of a rate cut is squarely in first rate cut in September, and I think the markets are pricing in at this point at least two rate cuts. We're going to have the next meeting in 5 days, Fed meeting. So we'll get some color. And next week we have a lot of inflation data coming. Magic, how are you?
Good. Just saw that Sawyer posted some more rate discounts. So looks like there's going to be financing plus discounts. So looks like the fundamental auto business. I mean, we can say anything about AI, but the fundamental auto business is trending down. I think that's a fair statement to say.
Yeah, I mean, you can maybe specify what you mean by trending down. Do you mean, I think the deliveries are going to be higher in Q2, right?
Well, there need to incentivize more to move metal, right? I mean, they're pulling more levers, so that speaks to a demand problem.
Okay. Do you think gross margin will be lower or higher than Q1?
I think gross margin will be lower in Q2 than it is Q1.
Okay. That could be a coffee bet when you think about that. We're going to have a lot more deliveries of the Cybertruck. I think the Cybertruck is going to be less of a drag on margins this quarter than before. Probably turn positive contribution margin too. So, but it's not going to have a positive impact, material positive impact until later this year.
Yeah, volumes are pretty low right now, right? So, I mean, that's yet to be seen.
And then the Model 3 is in volume production this quarter too versus last quarter. So that helps the margins a little bit.
What about Germany shutting down for 5 days? That doesn't worry anybody here?
Well, I think Troy made it clear that Europe is not supply limited, so they're probably just curtailing back production. I think everyone agrees with that here. Production adjustments. Are you familiar with Ford at all?
Again, yeah, I'm familiar with Ford, but I'm just saying. So I'm saying all auto business across the board is terrible right now. So again, even if I like Ford or Tesla, I wouldn't invest in either. I think I think autos. Okay, so again, that's your opinion. It's my opinion. I'm just saying in general.
No, I agree with you.
Auto company. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. All the businesses shit across the board. Inventories are rising. Pricing competition is high. Pricing power is low across the board. I think Toyota announced good results, though. Did you see that?
Yeah, Toyota, but even then, I wouldn't invest in Toyota. So this is less of a, in general, I just macro. The consumer's not doing well, so I wouldn't touch any auto company right now.
Okay. When do your put options expire on Tesla?
I have a ladder, so it depends.
Calendar. Yeah. Okay. But what's the kind of like the weighted average? Is it like next 3 to 6 months, 1 to 2 years?
March of 25.
March 25. Yeah. I got you. Okay. Yeah.
But also,
all right.
Yeah, the one thing I want to say is that you don't necessarily, you can like a product and not necessarily have to buy the stock, right? So
I agree with you. I mean, a lot of things you say, I agree with you. So I think I feel your frustration in your voice, and I think it's because of like everything, all the replies that you must be getting, I can imagine. But I come from a finance background, as you seem to, have some of it too. So I agree with some of the comments you're making. You can definitely like a product and not the stock. Have you driven a Tesla though?
I have, yeah.
How do you like it?
Wasn't a big fan. I don't like. I mean, I drive Porsches and BMWs typically. So I'm kind of more of an enthusiast. So steering feel isn't good. I don't like it. But me, I'm very particular. That's not like it's less important about me. There's plenty of people that like Tesla, so that's nobody. I'm in California here, so it's the number one car that you see out there. So.
Yeah, I think Rivians are great. The R1S, the R1T, They're both great cars. I've spoken with owners. They love the cars. Rivian has, good, solid following, fan base as well. And but I think the company is still not successful. So, Jimmy.
Yes, I want to talk about geopolitics and Tesla.
All right, hold on. Bull 2035.
Yeah, two questions for Magic. One, have you ever invested in Tesla? And two, what would cause you to invest in Tesla? What would you need to see? Thanks.
Hey, no, I haven't invested on the long side Tesla. It all comes down to price. It all comes down to if the stock is appropriately priced, in my view, then we'd go long. So it's just when it trades at less high multiples. So again, one example is I love Costco. I'm a huge Costco fan. If you look at Costco stock, it's extremely, extremely overvalued. So I can love Costco and hate the stock, right? So that's just kind of a point that I want to make here.
Yeah, I got you. All right, Jimmy.
Can I talk about geopolitics and Tesla?
Sure.
Thank you. I saw that the foreign minister of Turkey just went to China. And a part of that is to bring in Chinese EV manufacturing into Turkey. They want their very first EV factory. And it is a shame that Tesla has yet to get into this market in the manufacturing side. It would make a lot of sense to do it in Turkey and in other countries as well. But this is one of the main pushes. A lot of countries want their factories. And again, it is another shame that in the factories that Tesla has built, namely in a European country, I'll show that name, there have been disruptions, maybe proving that they never deserved the factory to begin with. Because clearly the government doesn't seem to care that the factory needs some help to stop disruptions in a country of Europe, which I shall not name. But anyway, there are many opportunities for Tesla on the manufacturing side. And I hope that after the second factory in China is built, that they could go to another country more centrally located in the world. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Ego Austin has produced roughly 50 million 4680s in the past year, says Jordan. That's 5 gigawatt hours of battery cells. So backward looking, they're running at about 5% installed capacity at Austin, which is 100 gigawatt hours per year. However, in the Q1 earnings call, Lars advised that they were actually a run rate about 7 gigawatt hours per year at that point. That was 2 months ago, so it's likely they're capable of producing 7 gigawatt hours of cells per year currently. Interesting. Other notes. 50 million cells or 5 gigawatt hours is enough for about 37,000 Cybertrucks. The 7 gigawatt hour figure was set to be for somewhere around 52,000 Cybertrucks. Note that there's some fudge room in these numbers of about 6%, depending on whether you're talking about nominal or usable energy density. Bear in mind that the fourth quarter, they shut down the 4680 lines for retooling to upgrade to the Gen 2 Cybertruck cell. So it's difficult to get a good handle on the production ramp trajectory by looking at the updates for 10 and 20 million cells from last year. At this point, I'm doubting that the cathode is using a dry process. If that's true, it's not ideal, but manufacturing 70% of the cell in-house should still prove to be more cost-effective than buying from third parties if they can get the production rate up. If they haven't solved dry coating the cathode yet, I doubt they've given up on it, but it would mean we wouldn't see in-house cathode production at scale for probably at least a couple of years. Oh, wow. Oof. Jimmy?
Thank you very much. I would like to add a few more points about Turkey, if you don't mind.
Well, it's off topic, Jimmy. It doesn't sound like you have any news or anything like that. Like, did you have any, I don't think it's a priority right now for Tesla. So why do you want to talk about this? Okay. I want to talk to Magic a little bit while we have the opportunity. Actually, Jimmy, let me ask you. What did you think of the ex-board member's interview today? The ex-board member of Tesla voting against Elon's compensation. What did you think of that interview?
He is an ex-board member, although I know he has some shares. But I would say this. Those who claim that CEO compensation is too high have never started their own company before and do not understand why it's important that a founder still be a part of that company. One would argue that his assumptions are completely off. It would be true to say that some CEO compensation is way too high at companies where they're, the 12th generation CEO, like at, for example, a fintech or a large bank. But Elon, as I was saying yesterday, can bring in great employees, can bring in great management, can integrate with his other companies that he's founded. I don't really understand why these people they're looking at the number of how much money they're making or potentially could make. I think they're a little bit envious. Or they're looking at the research about CEO compensation and using that instead. But this is not the same thing. So I didn't really understand where he was coming from, to be honest.
Okay. Two-part question. What do you think is the probability of proposal 4 failing? And what do you think is the probability that Elon leaves given that proposal 4 fails?
I think it has a 90% chance of passing. And if Elon, if it does fail, I would say that Elon has a very low chance of leaving. I think there'll be another shot. He'll have to talk to the investors, see what he can do. I don't see him leaving. I don't think he's left any of the companies he's helped found. I just don't see the purpose of him leaving. I think he'll, if in the very low probability of it not passing, he'll realize that maybe he pushed a little bit too far because of the number. He is already one of the richest people in the world. And he knows that, if there is some success, which I'm sure there will be, that proposal can come back and he can push it forward because there's two issues here. One is how far it is from passing. Now, if it's very close, then he has every reason to stay. But if it's not very close, then of course I would understand if he would want to leave. But I think the chance of it not being close is very, very low. Thank you.
And can you define real quick what?
Is it me or is his voice cutting out?
You mean by this 6-4?
I'm very sorry, Yaman. Is it me or your voice is cutting out? Oh, okay. I heard that last part. Yeah. I would say.
What is the what define? Inflexity.
Yeah, I hope everyone's doing fine today. And we just had a Barron's article come out which said that even though everyone is expecting a tough battle, that they are thinking that most investors are going to vote yes, and Elon's comp package is going to pass.
Wes,
Hey, Yaman, what's happening?
can you guys hear me okay?
I can now, yeah.
Okay, Inflexity, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hold on, I can't hear Inflexity. I'll be right back. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? You should be okay now. West 6.
Hey, Yaman. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing fantastic. Got a lot of caffeine in me. Ready to rock and roll.
All right, great. Did you have anything to add to the conversation, or just hanging out?
Yeah, no, I think I think the Bulls. I'm a Bull, and I think the Bulls have really underestimated the institutions, and I think we will win the retail vote, and I think we will lose the institutional vote, and it'll be a tight, you know, outcome. We'll see what happens. Um, but I think there's going to be a big surprise regarding the negative side, and we saw that today with what's his name, Stephen Wesley, the former board member. Um, a few weeks ago, I saw an interview with him, and he was rather negative, and it's the first time I've seen him like that. And he was negative again today, and so a lot of this is about relationships. Like for instance, he was saying he was going to vote no because of Elon's performance since um, the stock grew to its all-time high in 2021, and that's not what the vote's about, right? But it's a clear evidence that people are not voting based on uh, you know giving him his salary back. They're instead basing on other things. It's just ridiculous. But I think it's gonna be really close.
Inflexity, can you repeat your point, please?
Yeah, as I was saying, that Barron's had an article today, and they said that even though everyone is expecting, bad things to happen at Tesla, they are saying that most investors are expected to vote yes, and that his comp package will definitely pass.
Yeah, there's a wide range of views, expectations of what will happen, and I just find it really interesting that all these people are going on CNBC and telling publicly that they're going to vote against. Like, what is what is the purpose of that? I wonder. What's the what incentive does the export member have to go on CNBC and announce that he's voting against the comp package? Inflexity?
I think you just generate more headlines that way. It's like you're putting your name out there. If you said that you are voting yes, you're most likely not going to get enough coverage out of it. And I think a lot of it is because, they want attention in the media. So, it's basically similar to why fund managers go out there. They want to advertise what they're doing.
Well, I don't think this guy is a fund manager, right?
I haven't looked at it yet. I'll check it out.
Let me just get his name real quick. This dude. I've seen his previous interviews before about Tesla, like in previous years as well. I wasn't very impressed by what he had to say. He didn't really have Wesley. He didn't really have. It didn't seem like he was very insightful about Tesla, which is kind of surprising because like you were on the board, you know. Um, anyway, so I'm not entirely surprised that I guess he's voting against. It sounds like I'm guessing that he kind of left on not too great terms. I mean, he's an ex board member, and like if I was asking around somebody, um, I wouldn't necessarily take what their ex has to say 100% face value. But anyway, Pennington.
Can you hear me?
Oh my gosh, yes.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Great. Just wanted to say, well, it said connection is bad. So I just wanted to make sure you could hear me. Just in regards to the former board member, that perception, vengeance are very, very powerful motivations. People feel aggrieved, people are frustrated, people are angry, and their only outlet would be to vote no, and they want to publicize it for whatever reason. It's their own reason, but that's the reality of what we're dealing with today. And the past has not been reconciled with. So the only thing people could do right now is say, forget about it, yes, or I'm really pissed at him, doesn't matter. No. That's just reality.
Yeah. I mean, I can see someone voting no because they're pissed at something about Elon or Tesla, but to go on CNBC and say you're voting no, I feel like you're more likely to do that if you believe the vote is close or that it's actually going to turn out to be a no, versus if it was a definite yes, I don't think we'd see these people going on publicly saying. It looks like West Hicks agrees with me. Pennington?
But if we look back and we see the Leo Kogwan, he wanted a voice, he wanted somebody to speak with, and he had nobody to speak with. So some people feel that when they needed Tesla and Elon the most, when they needed confirmation, when they needed something, they got nothing. So now, if the media is coming to them and saying, we want to hear what you have to say if it's negative, this person may run to that because it's the only outlet they have. Simply voting no is sometimes not enough. If you have power, if you have influence, if you're Ross Gerber or if you're Leo Kogwan, different motivations, but you want to let the world know that you're pissed, you want to take your revenge, and this is what you're going to do. How the whole thing plays out, obviously, we're not going to find out until the 13th, but people are upset.
Inflexity.
Yeah, we just have a few news articles out right now from Verge, and they're saying that the chair has written an letter to his shareholders and saying it's heavy with innuendo, and they're saying that potentially he might be leaving. So like this is the board chair saying that if it doesn't pass, he might be leaving. So, take it as it was.
Pennington?
I did see the same article. She did write that. She says we need Elon. If he doesn't stay, if he's not motivated, if something unique is not done to compensate a talent like Elon, he could leave. So yes, she said that. But I just want to raise another point, but it sort of rubbed me the wrong way. It's when the chairwoman says a deal is a deal. But Elon was the one who was behind when Tesla first went public. He had his shares when he first went public. So now, when you're adding this whole layer of the 25%, when you want to do something that wasn't part of the original deal, that wasn't part of the original package, when the chairwoman says a deal's a deal, as a shareholder, I just want to say, well, fine, let's vote yes on his compensation now, but what the heck is this 25% about? Why now?
West Hicks.
Did I just hear Robin Denholm said that there is a chance of him leaving? Is that accurate?
Yeah,
And that was this morning when she was on CNBC or whatever.
it's a shareholder letter.
What data?
It's an officially filed SEC shareholder letter. So it's a letter to
Yeah.
investors basically.
Yeah, so Andrew Sorkin interview, she didn't say that on the Andrew Sorkin interview, but again, I think people need to realize that the probability of Elon leaving is not zero if the vote fails. Okay. And I think it's higher than people realize. But I don't think it's likely. I think he would want to stay even if the vote fails. I just don't know if it's going to be like I think that would be a really tough fight because this vote turned out to be a bit of a public referendum on Elon. And now that's one side of the story. And then the second point is they have to make it clear that the probability of Elon leaving if he doesn't get this compensation package is not zero. They have to do that for legal purposes. Because one of the judges' opinions was he would have stayed anyway, therefore you didn't have to pay him all this money. so Elon has to build a case that no, I may not stay if I don't get this money, and I think that I believe him that he may not stay. So I'm gonna look. Flexity, can you reply with that SEC filing to the space? I'm gonna read the exact wording of what Robin Denholm said. Lauren.
Yeah, I mostly agree with you, and I do worry that if this were to go bad, I think there's a decent chance he could end up leaving, which scares the shit out of me. But I apologize. Scares me. The one thing I'd push back on though is people like the board member coming out. You said that what would be their motivation unless they thought it was a chance of it going against them. I would kind of argue the opposite, that it's kind of like the Rob Henderson, if you've run across him with his luxury beliefs thing, where it's very easy to virtue signal as a shareholder and say, oh, this guy, Elon, he wronged us all. I don't like his politics, whatever. If you actually don't think there's much chance of the vote failing, and there's not that much chance of you losing a ton of money on your investment, where if you actually think there's a chance of the Tesla shares you own going down dramatically in value, it's a lot harder to come out and virtue signal and bluster. So that could be the other side argument of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Some people, there are some people who genuinely think that if Elon left, the Tesla would perform better. Like for example, Fred said that here in a previous space. He seems to think that if Elon left, that the far left would start buying Teslas again, etc. But I think that's a very obvious. I mean, Fred also thought that Rivian was going to be successful, so I wouldn't take that. But yeah, there's some people who think. I mean, there's some people who like Tesla and not Elon. Like you have to recognize that reality.
In my opinion, I mean, I'm scared to death of this whole thing, but my gut feeling is it's going to pass overwhelmingly. And the one thing you can count on Wall Street is greed. And the side of greed is to keep Elon on and keep the stock price up. And greed will overcome all in this case, no matter how people virtue signal and talk otherwise.
Wessex.
Yeah, I think that's true for the retail voters, but not for the institutions. When you hear them on TV, just one after another has nothing to do with the future of Tesla would be better or not better with Elon there or anything like that. It's simply on other stuff. But on the retail side, the good news is the Bears don't have that many shares compared to, of course, the Bulls. So hopefully it'll work out. Actually,
well, the Bear. I mean, if somebody has Tesla shares, they're not a bear, obviously. That's by definition.
Right. Maybe just pissed off people.
Yeah. What's the other thing?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to vent on this too hard or anything, but I have a particular issue with the Tesla YouTubers. I'll say that instead of just influencers, just to be a little bit more specific, who have just gone on and on about Elon leaving. Elon never said he's leaving. He never has. Not once. He did say he might build AI products outside of Tesla. Sure. And he really can't say he would or wouldn't. So I get that too. But a lot of this, just like the last speaker, Lauren, he's not alone. A lot of people are scared to death that Elon might leave. And it's a lot of that fear, uncertainty, and doubt has been created by these Tesla YouTubers. And it's quite frustrating. So I don't know, just really not cool with that.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So you believe that the probability of Elon leaving, given that proposal 4 fails, is 0?
No, but I think it's low.
Okay, so like 5% low?
Yeah, that's about right. Under 10.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think most people agree with you on that. I don't think, is there anyone who claimed that Elon would leave? Elon leaving is more likely than not even if proposal 4 fails.
Yeah, as a matter of fact,
who?
Yeah, Warren Redlick in particular. Warren has not only said that, Warren's, I don't want to pick on him. I really like Warren, by the way. I respect him, and I think he has some really some good insight for our community. But he chose, out of all the possible outcomes, he chose the absolute worst one and said, I think Elon will leave if this vote doesn't go through. And then he chose the absolute worst outcome on that the entire AI team will leave. And it's like, look, there's a lot of outcomes that could happen here. But what's the point of choosing the most outrageous, most salacious, um, you know, outcomes, if you will, and then to have a space about it and have all these videos. And again, he's not alone. I'm not really trying to pick on Warren. Like I said, I like him. And I'll add one more thing to that.
Yeah.
He's even suggested Elon should leave. If I were Elon, I would leave. I don't blame him for leaving and things like that. And it's that kind of stuff doesn't help. It doesn't help. This whole thing. Now, on the flip side, here's what's exciting. If there's people I'm not giving financial advice, but just thinking about myself, I guess. The opportunity, there's a path forward right now. If you haven't really built out your position in Tesla to really take advantage of this craziness that's occurring. I probably don't see anything the same way that Magic does, who was up here a moment ago, in terms of this being a good buying opportunity. I think it quite frankly is, in my opinion. But if this thing dips next Friday after a no vote, and the chances are truly 5 to 10% that Elon might leave, only 5 to 10%. We have like a small window where you could just pick up, a large amount of shares. Now it could go any direction, so who knows? But that's what I would be eyeing if I was trying to build my position. I think there's some really cool opportunities here.
Okay, before I go to Hamid, first of all, I do want to say, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm just fucking skipping. Finflexity, go ahead. Did you find that filing or the exact section? Are you talking about this Schedule
Yeah, I linked
14A? You linked it? Let me
Yeah, I
see.
think the reply.
Okay. Nor does he face any shortage of ideas. Hold on 1 second. Okay. What we recognized in 2018 and continue to recognize today is that one thing Elon most certainly does not have is unlimited time. Nor does he face any shortage of ideas and other places he can make an incredible difference in the world. We want those ideas, that energy, and that time to be at Tesla for the benefit of you or our owners, but that requires reciprocal respect. We all made a commitment to Elon. Elon honored his commitment and produced tremendous value for our stakeholders. Honoring our commitment to Elon demonstrates that we support his vision for Tesla and recognize his extraordinary accomplishments. This is what will motivate him to continue to create value for stakeholders. Fairness and respect and concern for the future of Tesla also underlie our decision to ask you to approve moving our company's legal home to Texas, marrying our legal home operational home. This doesn't say, Finflexity, that Elon would leave, right?
No, the shareholder letter doesn't say it, but the media is trying to spin it that way. I was saying what I was quoting earlier was
So I
from
don't.
Verge.
From where?
The Verge, the tech news.
Yeah, I would like to see the link to the quotation that you provided us, that Elon would leave. I would like to see that link. This is not it. Okay. Hamid.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I was mostly listening. I figured I'd join the speakers just in case I had a specific comment. But are you asking a general question, or are you wanting me to comment on
Well,
the?
I remember I vaguely, you don't often come to speaker board, so I don't know much about you, but I remember your replies. I think did you vote no?
I did vote no.
Okay.
And I know I'm going to get a lot of shit from this community. I'm a huge Elon fan, and I think he is instrumental to Tesla's future success. And my view is that it's a low probability of him leaving. But I have like sort of foundational problems with the comp package, which is why I voted no. But Elon.
Can I ask you one thing real quick first?
Yeah, go for it.
First of all, this space is very diverse. We have had people who come up and we had Fred Lambert to come up here and talk about the compensation package, and he's one of the ringleaders for voting against this proposal 4. So you're welcome to voice your opinions any way you want. and if somebody is giving you a hard time in the replies or whatever, I will get in front of it. And but let me just ask you, if you knew for a fact that Elon would leave if the vote fails, would you still vote no?
I would probably just sell my shares, is what I would do if I knew for a fact that he would leave. I think that like the incentive for Elon and for Tesla, if they want this vote to pass, is to imply, not specifically to say, but to imply that there is a good chance that he would leave, right? It is a fear factor that is very useful to get the for you want to get people to vote for the compensation package as opposed to against it. It's an effective way to sort of position it so that like people think, well, he might leave if he doesn't get this. I'm going to vote for it, for the compensation package. I voted against the compensation package, by the way. I don't know if that was clear. I may have said for, but for him not getting it is what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
The reason for it, though, from my perspective, is that it's such an unprecedented level of pay for a founder, right? Like usually what happens is founders of these great companies like the Microsofts and Amazons and Facebooks of the world, the founder starts out with a ginormous piece of the company, and it essentially they are worth $100 billion plus as a result of that massive chunk. And by the time they become worth more than $1 billion or two or 5 or 10, generally speaking, historically, most of these founders don't even take pay anymore. Not only do they take a very small pay, but they don't get stock options, and it's just very unusual for them to get it on an ongoing basis. So not only does this sort of break that tradition, but like besides having this massive pay, which was ruled to be illegal. Now, whatever you may think of the judge in this case, it was a judicial sort of ruling that happened. Not only has that happened, but then Tesla and Elon are saying, "F you, we're going to keep the same pay." But before that judge actually made the ruling, Elon was talking about his next compensation package and how he actually wants even more of the company to get up to above 25% in order to continue to do cool things under the Tesla umbrella as opposed to doing them separately. All of these things are sort of like, in my opinion, just not cool. He's going to be, even if he gets no additional compensation, he's probably going to be a trillionaire within the next 10 years, the world's first trillionaire. And asking for additional compensation is just like, what the fuck for? Like at some point, the amount of money this guy has is more than the rest of, like it's comparable to all the residents of a given state, so it becomes a little bit challenging to be like, yeah, this guy deserves $58 billion comp package when $58 billion is also the comp package for 5 years worth of all other Tesla employees and all other Tesla expenses, which is over 100,000 employees and all of their expenses and payroll and everything combined. And
Okay,
then
gotcha.
this one
Let
guy.
me
So
let me ask you something.
those
Are you against the idea of one man having $1 trillion, or do you think that would be warranted under certain conditions?
No, I think he will become a trillionaire. I have no problem with him being a trillionaire. I think I would have a problem with a trillionaire or future trillionaire or the current world's second or third most wealthy individual asking for more money. I do have a problem with that. Like I have no problem with him being as wealthy as he is, or anybody for that matter. I'm pretty
Okay.
wealthy myself, right?
Okay, gotcha. Let me ask you this then. Let's say proposal 4 fails and Elon leaves. Okay. Assume that for a second. I know you don't agree with that scenario. I know that you don't think that's the likely scenario. Okay. But assume that for a second. Let's say proposal 4 fails and Elon leaves, says, I'm going to focus on SpaceX instead. and XAI instead. What do you think happens to Tesla in that scenario?
So there's always this sort of like breakout point of companies where the trajectory that they're on is either pretty solid or shaky. Now, when Steve Jobs left in 1984 from Apple, the trajectory Apple was on was still pretty shaky. It didn't have solid product line. Its future was like not as well defined. And when he left in 1984, Apple basically started fumbling. I mean, it had some okay years, but it started fumbling. And like about 10, 12 years later is when it started to like get towards this sort of bankruptcy path. But then Steve, obviously passed away in 2011. And it turned out that, Apple went from a $300 billion company all the way to a $3 trillion company today, despite the fact that Apple has hardly innovated. Now, if Elon leaves from Tesla, Tesla innovation will disappear, in my opinion. Like significant innovation, but it's on a trajectory where it's very Apple-like in that the existing product lines and the basic blocking and tackling that Tesla can do by just adding additional vehicle lines and continuing to do what it already does really well will get it to a like $400-500 billion revenue company. So it's not going to disappear, in my opinion. It's going to continue to grow and be a solid company,
Okay.
but it's
Let me
not
ask-
going to be the same company that it would be under Elon.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So first, did you get a chance to read the tweet at the top?
No, not yet.
Okay. We're going to get to that. Let me just get Lauren's and Cybertruck's points real quick, and then we're going to. How much time do you have today?
Sorry, I started reading the tweet.
Yeah.
I have a few minutes. I can I can listen in. Yeah,
Okay.
we can continue.
Okay, great. Lauren?
Hey, thanks for bringing me up. But to be honest, I forgot what my point was while I was listening to you guys.
That's okay. You can remember and then come back. Cybertruck?
Does Hamid know what Elon's giant pay package is for?
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he knows. Okay. Bull 2035.
You can't compare Apple. Apple's a software company with hardware as well. Tesla, if Elon leaves, is a hardware company. It's a car company that gets a 7 to 10 multiple. You can't compare the two when you talk about multiples. There's going to be a big haircut, a big loss if Elon leaves. So it's just not comparable. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to. So if you guys haven't read the tweet at the top, please do so. And then we're going to talk. I'm going to focus on Hamid for a second. And I think he's reading that right now. And I'm going to incorporate what Bull 2035 said as well. So Hamid said earlier that, so I think, so I'm not obviously not picking on Hamid or anything like that, but I think this is a very common view today, that if Elon leaves, Tesla innovation would slow down, but Tesla would still be a leader in the future, and it would still be a good, company for $400-500 billion current market cap, and continue to grow in the future. That it wouldn't go away. I disagree with this view, and I explained why in the tweet at the top. So I want to understand Hamid's view, see if I'm missing anything here. So he said earlier that Tesla would be able to bring new products to market. So let me just understand. Does that mean the $25,000 Tesla and or the robotaxi fleet and or Optimus?
So I think that vehicles is what I was referring to. So like I think if you think of Tesla's future as a car company, it totally makes sense for them to have somewhere around 10 vehicle lines. And I think that a different CEO outside of Elon could also get them to the 10 different vehicle lines, and each one of those doing relatively well. And when I say, I think that Tesla would still continue to be on its path to like $300-400 billion in revenue, it's mostly from vehicles that I would expect that to happen from. Now, they also have some momentum in batteries and battery storage, and like other things that they're leading on, that I think they could potentially use that momentum to continue to build those businesses as well. Now, I don't see robo taxis. I would have a much lower confidence level for robo taxis. I'd have a much lower confidence level for Optimus and other new product lines. It's sort of like making a meaningful contribution. But I do think that
Gotcha.
Tesla as a
So-
company would continue to survive.
So
and
I don't
grow
want to be
revenues.
I don't want to I don't want to disrespectful. It's just that I think I understand your position. So I talk to a lot of people every single day for many years now. I understand pretty much from the halfway of what you're saying, what you're going to say next, and we have limited time. So, okay, robotaxi. So basically, Tesla becomes a car company without Elon, and you're saying it would be a successful car company. It would expand production line to 10 vehicles. So I'm guessing this includes the van, the $25,000 vehicle, and maybe a few others. And would still have gross margins of about 20-25%. And do you think it would get to like 10 million a year, like a Toyota level volume?
Yeah, I think that's probably a trajectory that it could achieve over the next 10 years.
Okay.
Maybe it might take a little bit longer. Without any Elon, it might take 15 years to get there. But yeah.
Do you know the free cash flow number for Tesla in the last 12 months?
I don't know it off the top of my head. No.
Yeah. Well, Tesla today is very much break even. The free cash flow figure for last 12 months is $1 billion only. And in Q1, negative free cash flow. And in Q2, Tesla is having to offer both subvented loans and inventory discounts. And the Cybertruck production is still at a very small level. 4680 production is at 5% of capacity still. Drew Baglino, gone. Let's assume for a second, for the purpose of the discussion, that if Elon leaves, Drew comes back and takes charge of 4680, etc. I have a very different view of what Tesla without Elon would be like. I think the fact that hundreds of EV companies around the world have failed to bring a profitable EV to market in volume, whereas Tesla succeeded when Rivian, as I explained in that tweet, had basically everything else except for Elon. And they didn't even come close to becoming a positive gross margin company. Tells me that if you take that variable that made the difference out, Elon, you're going to end up with the same result as hundreds of other EV companies. I think that you're underestimating the challenges required to get Tesla from 2 million a year car company to 10 million a year company, which is you have to lower ASP to get there, especially if there are no road taxis. You're going to have to go from 45,000 ASP to something like 25,000 ASP company to get to Toyota level volume. That's what their ASP is, right? That's what the people can afford. So in order to do that, you're going to have to slash costs. And I think that's where Elon's value comes in a way. He's really able to slash costs, make sure that a part that shouldn't be there, a process that shouldn't be there is not optimized, it's removed. And also on the operating expenses too. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think I actually 100% agree with everything you said, because like without Elon, I think Tesla wouldn't have made it. And comparing it to other EV companies failing is correct comparison. But now Tesla is past a certain point where a lot of what you're talking about as the advantages of Tesla is now muscle memory within a lot of people that work at Tesla. They understand this sort of mentality of first principles, and that muscle memory, for example, is what has carried Apple from 2011 to 2024, continuing to be an amazing company, not because of innovations, but because they have been able to continue to build on the same stuff, essentially, same product lines, and really build those out, but without introducing many new product lines that have contributed in any meaningful sort of way. So could Tesla continue to use that muscle memory, the things that the culture of Tesla with over 100,000 employees have learned on how to produce cars efficiently and make them profitable? Yes, absolutely. I think they can continue to do that. But can they do new stuff like Optimus and robotaxis and new product lines that we don't even necessarily know about that Elon would make happen? The chances of those things are dramatically reduced.
Yeah, it looks like the main point we disagree on is whether Tesla reached escape velocity or not. I think that Tesla has not reached escape velocity. You think that Tesla has reached escape velocity, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to sort of phrase it. Like Rivian has not even, it's not even remotely close to reaching
here's the
escape
thing.
velocity.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Forget Rivian. Rivian's gone. Okay.
Well, I happen to be a Rivian stock owner as well as Tesla, but so I have like strong opinions on both. But I would 100% agree that Rivian is much higher risk. With even
what do you think
Rivian is a much higher risk.
Is the probability that Rivian survives the next 2 years?
Well, let me put it this way. I think Rivian has a lower probability of survival with its founder than Tesla does without Elon. So, but even so, I'm a shareholder now. Why am I a shareholder of a company?
Okay, but what do you think is Rivian's survival probability beyond 2025?
Well, 2025, it has enough cash to pass 2025. The question is, will it hit profitability before it runs out of cash, or its ability to raise more?
Okay, so what do you think is the probability?
And I would put that probability somewhere between 25 and 40%. I mean, it's obviously super speculative that Rivian will survive to profitability.
I think it's like less than 5%. But let me just, I don't want to talk about Rivian right now. I want to talk about this Apple Tesla comparison, because the question is whether Tesla is at escape velocity or not. Okay, and I'm going to phone in on that. Apple, when Tim Cook took over, was making $5 to $10 billion a quarter, whereas Tesla has negative free cash flow. What do you make of that difference?
Well, the Tesla negative cash flow is very much because of their investments in future plants and future investments. They actually are still a profitable company. I mean, they still made a profit. They've been profitable since 2020, if I'm not mistaken, every quarter since 2020. So they've been profitable for more than 4 years now. So I don't think you can just say that because of negative cash flow they're not like actually making money. It's that they're investing in things that cost billions of dollars.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's say Hamid is the CEO, next CEO of Tesla. Okay, so you come in and you reduce all costs. Do you eliminate robotaxis and Optimus projects immediately?
No, absolutely not. No.
Okay, so then those costs will continue. All right, so then what are we adjusting out that makes Tesla profitable? Because after the price cuts, right? After Tesla took price cuts on Model Y and Model S and Model X around the world, Tesla's profitability dropped substantially. It is basically break even. Even if you take out the AI chip investment in Q1, which was $1 billion, you would still have negative free cash flow in Q1. Okay. So, and you're keeping the engineers that are working on robotaxis. You do need the chips, obviously, to build FSD, and you're keeping the Optimus engineers. So then it's still going to be break even. So what makes you think Tesla has reached escape velocity, and you're comparing to Apple when Steve Jobs left, even though Apple was making $5 to $10 billion a quarter, whereas Tesla is break even?
Well, here's the thing. Tesla also has over $20 billion of cash, so you don't need
And so did
to
Apple at the time. So did Apple.
Right. But my point is that you don't need to do panic closing down of projects to try to save money. There's a good chance that the slowdown that Tesla has seen in its vehicle sales, which has happened during Elon's time, by the way, may I add, and all of this sort of negative cash flow has happened during Elon's time. So clearly, Elon also believes that things are going to turn around. Might just be a macroeconomic and interest rate issue, and
it is. I agree.
And he adds to some of the chaos, meaning like him taking massive political sides. Clearly, he's become a Republican. Is probably unhelpful to Tesla's traditional audience, which has historically been more Democrat leaning, and not just leaning, probably heavily Democrat, maybe even 70-30 or 80-20 if you were to go back 2 years ago. Whereas today, I'm not sure that a lot of Democrats are comfortable buying a Tesla and supporting Elon based on his positions. So he has also created some chaos. I just want to, even so, I'm still a Elon fan, and I think it's still better for Tesla long term for Elon to be running it than anyone else. But let's not forget that he has created some chaos and some adversity that would go away if he was not.
So let me ask you this. This is the kind of point that Fred made as well. So I'm going to ask, Finflexy, I doubt I'm going to get to you anytime soon. So you may put your hand down. Let's say, go back to January 1st and say Elon was fired. And Robin Denholm came out and said, we fired him because of his political tweets. What do you think would be the sales of Tesla in, like, unit sales in 2024?
I'm not sure it would have a huge impact. I honestly don't know. It would. It would also. I also would lose an incredible amount of confidence in the board's ability to govern if they went and fired Elon.
Okay, but here's the thing.
That would be idiotic. But
the reason why I'm asking you is because if you don't believe the unit sales would be different, then Elon's tweets did not have a material impact. I agree with you that the sales and margins went down primarily because of macro headwinds, higher interest rates. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I said I don't know how much different they would be. Like I honestly don't know how to speculate on that. Like, would they sell 10% more cars? I don't know. That would just be pulling random numbers out of thin air. But would they sell to some of these people who are like absolutely dead set against Elon now, and historically would have been in the target audience for Teslas because they're environmentalists and they care for the environment and they want to drive an EV? Yeah, absolutely. It would affect some of them, right? Like, but I don't know what those numbers are at.
Okay,
that's just pure speculation.
Okay, that's fine. So let's assume I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, and you named it 10% maybe kind of thing. So let's say 2 million units. I guarantee you, with 2 million units, you're still going to be break even. So that's not the problem, really. My concern, let's say with Elon leaving, assume proposal 4 fails, Elon leaves. In the first year or two, things would look pretty much the same as with Elon there. But costs, both on the COGS side and the operating expenses side, would increase over time. And you'd eventually get to, because you're on a break even now, you're definitely not at the, in my opinion, you're not at the escape velocity as Apple was, because they were making tens of billions of dollars in profit, whereas Tesla is break even today.
You mind, but you're saying you're ignoring the
hold
cost.
On, let me just finish. Let me finish my sentence. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. We're talking. That's why we're talking free cash flow. This guy is not getting paid cash. The reason why he's not getting paid cash is because
that's
the company.
A convenient way to ignore the cost of his compensation plan. But the cost of his compensation plan comes in the form of dilution by all shareholders.
That's fine.
So
that's okay. Listen, we're talking bankruptcy. When you're talking bankruptcy, liquidity issues, you have to look at free cash flow, not GAAP net income. Okay. And the reason why he's getting paid in shares is because the company can't pay in cash.
There's a reason why Warren Buffett warns against ignoring gap profitability, because if you ignore the comp plan of executives, and this became a popular thing for a lot of fast growing companies for
I
them
mean,
to be.
you're preaching to the choir, okay? I was an accountant, I was a CPA, I have a master's degree in accounting from University of Virginia. I did both public accounting and private accounting. I've written many times, numerous articles about the importance of looking at both GAAP net income and non-GAAP net income. I've written many times, even as recent as last month, about the importance of stock-based compensation being included in analysis. But this is a different topic. This is liquidity. Therefore, you talk about free cash flow, not net income, which has many items of non-cash expenses, including stock-based compensation. It's just an irrelevant
Let
to
me
our
ask you a
discussion.
question. When Elon took his $50 billion comp plan and sold $40 billion worth of that stock, okay, what would have been different if the company just simply sold $40 billion of stock and took the cash? It would have actually added $40 billion to Tesla's cash flow, right? And the net result from a dilution perspective, it would have been the same. So, this idea.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have Elon. You wouldn't have Elon, dude.
No, but you might. I mean, like, the question is, if Elon is not motivated by money, right, then why is he asking for so much of it? Right? Like, so you might have it. I mean,
No,
and I
hold on. You're
believe, by the way,
changing
that he's
topic. You're
not
changing
motivated.
topic. Hamid, you're
He's
changing
not motivated
topic.
by money because,
You
but he also
claim
has $100 billion worth
you
outside
claim
of this comp plan, by
Tesla
the way.
you claim Tesla has reached, you compare Tesla to Apple. I gave you a very specific figure why Tesla is not where Apple was when Steve Jobs left the reins to Tim Cook. Apple was making tens of billions of dollars a year at that point.
But what
Tesla
I'm
is
saying
break
is,
even.
like, if
that
Tesla
proved to me
tomorrow
why
decided
Tesla
to sell $50 billion worth of its stock and dilute shareholders by 10%, it would then have $70 billion of cash in the bank, and it would have the same dilution as giving that stock to Elon. It would be the same dilution, and there is no guarantees Elon's not going to turn around and sell it. So, in a way, I
You're
would
confusing
rather
two things.
Tesla get the $50 billion
confusing two
than
things.
Elon to get this $50 billion.
You're confusing two things. You're saying that instead of paying Elon, Tesla should raise cash and Elon should work for free.
No, nobody in history who's been worth, as a founder, who's been worth multiple billions of dollars has had the kind of additional compensation package. Let's not forget that Elon, outside of this compensation package, already owns $100 billion worth of Tesla. Okay?
You're assuming that Elon is going to stay and work because of the
like,
incentives.
For example,
but he could easily
Bill
say,
Gates to this
Elon
day
could
still
easily
works
listen.
for Microsoft, but
No,
he does
you're
it for
taking
free.
You're taking it for
literally,
granted.
as chairman, he
You're
doesn't
taking
get paid,
it for granted.
Right?
You're taking it for
100%, but
granted.
that's just the way.
Okay, we're gonna go to other people
because no problem.
You're taking him for granted. Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you kind of lose this battle here when you start to bring up the whole tweets thing. People who tweet and don't buy cars from Tesla because of Elon are the same people that don't buy cars from Tesla to begin with. This was proven right away when EVs came out and everyone said they were safer for the environment. The major push of that environmental safety were from environmentalists who could not afford a Tesla at the time. Now, the people who were all about gas, guess what? They were the majority of buying cars. So when people start bringing up that Elon does mean tweets and loses business with the company and as a risk, that is false information because those people aren't in the market to buy a Tesla to begin with.
Alice. We're 6.
Yeah, I just, I find it interesting. I don't want to pick on Hamid. We can have different views and get along. But it seems like he's approaching this, he's reasoning by analogy. When you look at question 4, which specifically the one sentence is this: a Tesla proposal to ratify the performance-based stock option awarded to Elon Musk in 2018. I just paraphrased. But that's not the question Hamid is answering. He's answering his own question. Other people don't make this. If you look historically at other companies, and that's fine, but he represents a group of people that choose to ignore the actual question. And as a shareholder, that's disappointing, but a lot of people are doing what he's doing. The other thing, it seems like he may have a misunderstanding about the 25% voting rights that Elon seeks. Hamid seemed to think that there was a financial goal on Elon's part, but it's a voting goal. And when you look at what happened with OpenAI, and he doesn't want to lose control of these AI products if they're going to change the world. I live in Memphis, Tennessee, and we have some activists that have joined FedEx, which is the largest employer in the Memphis area. Blackstone and other organizations, they're highly motivated to get activists on the board. And, so I forgot what I lost my train of thought there, but the 25%, we need to prevent that from happening. Otherwise, these activists will get on the board.
Right, and his point with the 25% is that because I can't just be given 25% voting rights, I need to be given the shares, and therefore, essentially, like he's asking for more money. Basically, fundamentally, that is what it comes down to. Now, I don't think he's motivated by money either. But go ahead.
Listen, Hamid, we need that money so we can go to Mars.
Habib,
I love it.
Also, Hamid, what business is it of yours that compensation has been agreed upon?
Okay. I'm an owner. That's what business of mine it is.
Okay, Habib.
Dude,
So
no, that.
Sorry, Hollis. Habib, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I actually appreciate a little bit of that, Alice. I think Wes Hicks said it right. Hamid, I've heard you on many other spaces. Nice to speak with you officially, and we can disagree and still be civil. But it really sounds to me, what I hear a lot of other people is you have personal objections to certain things that Elon has done, and you're trying to justify it using the economics, but the economics don't back that up. Whether you don't like that he tweets or he gets political or whatnot, and you have every.
Do we lose him? I can't hear
Yeah,
him
he cut
anymore.
off. He cut off. Inflexity.
Yeah. So I would just like to point out that first of all, you're comparing Tesla to Apple. Apple is a services company. They don't have manufacturing teams, they have design teams. Hence, they are paying someone else to do the hard work for them. Secondly, in the case that founders aren't paid as much, most founders quit their companies after, a few years. How many years has it been since Tesla was started? 2008 to 2024. That's 16 years. He has been here, he is doing the work, and he wants to continue to do so. And then to the third point is that you're saying that they have lost a lot of customers because he started tweeting against, Republican thoughts. First of all, that has not been proven. It may be right in essence. There has no number has been assigned to that because first of all, no one has been able to conduct a study. Every person that is commenting so is saying that we talked to 4 professors from 4 universities, and they said that because Elon is tweeting, it is very likely that they are losing out on a lot of customers. It is not a survey, it is an opinion, it is a perspective paper.
We're 6.
Well, Habib just reminded me, I have heard Hamid speak a few times. And I've heard, and hopefully Hamid, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've said multiple times that you have an issue with somebody making so much money, meaning you have an ideology, which is similar to the judge, who I consider to be an activist.
Not at all. Not at all.
Is that okay? Is that not the case? It seemed like you even hinted at that in some of your points you made today, but go ahead, maybe you can clarify.
No. It's different from somebody making so much money versus somebody in their own company asking for additional pay at the expense of other shareholders, right? And they're not asking for like normal pay. They're asking for more pay than all other employees combined times a multiple, right? So this is like an unprecedented level of pay that we're talking about. But and that is what I have a problem with. And when you combine that for the richest person on the planet to be asking for that, the combination is what I have a problem with. Otherwise, like I think that first of all, I am very pro billionaires. I'm like very pro free markets solving a lot of our problems, and I think that creates billionaires, and as a result, we actually live better lives. So,
Hey, Yaman, can I just address that?
Yeah.
He's not asking for that, Hamid. We are. We, the shareholders, are asking to reinstate what we previously
that is
approved.
hilarious.
How so?
Because his compensation plan was not negotiated with you. It was basically him asking for what he wanted and the board agreeing. And that was the
approved by
reason
me.
that it got struck down, is because the board agreeing to his demands was not in any way actually negotiated, which is what the judge sort of turned down. So if you look at the actual basis as to why the judge said this is like not only unprecedented but not fair to shareholders, it was a result of him basically getting everything that he wanted without negotiation, and with the board of directors being way too close and sympathetic to him and not pushing back on it in any way, shape, or form. So there was no evidence provided in the legal case that the board negotiated appropriately, which is why the judge struck it down. I mean, like, you got to actually look at the facts of the matter, not just be like emotional about it.
Well, can you tell me where he said that he's asking for his? I mean, this is money he was already. We already agreed to pay him, and we're just trying to reinstate that. The way you're phrasing it seems a lot different, and I don't think I have
Right.
a motion.
No. You're right, but like the vote is to reinstate something that the judge has already sort of ruled on, saying that it was inappropriate to begin with and should have not existed. And instead of doing anything about it or looking back and saying, hey, maybe we should have done this a little bit differently, or maybe we should take some lessons learned and talk about like how the compensation should be going forward. None of that is happening. Instead, Elon is basically saying, fuck you, I'm going to move it from this state to another state where you don't have jurisdiction over it anymore, and I'm going to have the shareholders re-vote on it on the exact same plan without any sort of changes to the plan. So so there's no lessons learned here from Elon's perspective. It's just like basically taking an FU approach to it, which is fine. I mean, but that is what it is, right? Like we're now voting on this FU strategy, and mind you, we still don't know what his compensation plan should be going forward, which he has specifically said in the past that he wants 25% of the company. So another comp plan is going to be coming on top of this comp plan, by the way, for his future work, because this one is for his past work.
Of course. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's exactly
No,
what's
hold
going
on.
on.
We have other hands. Lenny.
Hey, Hamid, are you aware that in 2018, Elon actually requested a lower amount of his shares? If you read the Walter Isaacson book, you can actually see that. So they wanted to give him actually more shares, and he requested that he took a lot less shares. Are you aware of that?
I read the Isaacson book too, and there was no place that said that he requested less shares. What was the number of shares that he was offered that he decided no, let me take less?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I will go get the book right
Okay.
now, and I will.
Okay.
give it to
We're gonna go on to other speakers while we do that. Finflexity.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from Hamid is that he has some lack of context as to what is happening right here. So first of all, the judge said that you asked the shareholders to vote on something. They voted on it. About 78% shareholders voted for the plan, but the judge said that the shareholders didn't know that there was partnerships between Elon and the board, and hence it was clouding the board's judgment. So this comp reinstatement vote is essentially proving to her that shareholders knew what they were in for, and they still agree with what they voted back then. First of all, and the second point is that moving to Texas does not remove this obstacle of the previous comp plan, it essentially just allows him to, get a new comp plan for the future. The Delaware comp plan will stay in Delaware. The jurisdiction does not change to a Texas court.
Thank you.
So
Hamid, hold on. We have one more hand. Mr. Anderson?
Was it the performance, the negotiation, since it was performance based?
yeah, I mean it's performance based. So all CEOs are compensated on a performance based basis. Lee Iacocca is famously one of the early CEOs in the 1980s who turned around Chrysler, who took a $1 salary, but also negotiated with the board for a pretty substantial amount of options that would have been worthless.
It's not the same for all CEOs, like you said. Like for example, GM CEO, Ford CEO. I mean, these people get $10, $20 million. Some of it is options and everything, but a lot of it is just salary.
That's right. But when somebody already has a bunch of money, they don't necessarily care for the additional cash. The comp plan at the time that it was given to Elon was worth roughly 2.3 billion, which was also unprecedented, by the way. So just because it had a zero value, if Tesla didn't approach a certain number, doesn't mean it doesn't have value. And you can go see, like, for example, if you go buy options right now, you still have to pay for those options, even if they expire worthless. So there is a value associated with the options, even if the stock never reaches the price point.
I mean, we have a couple of questions for you from live chat. You could like that. Did you vote for or against the comp plan in 2018?
I did not vote in 2018. But let me tell you something. By the way, with respect to
hold on. And I have other questions for you. I mean, just FYI, people are asking me to kick you off the board. So let me just get my questions
out. Of course, they want an echo chamber. So if you want an echo chamber,
no, that's not necessarily
you don't
true.
Have to kick
that's
me
not
off.
necessarily true. I just want you to answer a couple of questions. So you didn't vote in 2018. Does that mean you were not an investor at the time, or did you abstain?
I usually don't vote because most of the time it's not worth voting.
Did you sell any of your shares heading into this vote?
No, I recently bought some more Tesla shares.
Okay. What do you think happens next week if the vote fails, or on June 13th?
I think Elon will be disappointed, but he'll continue to be the CEO.
No, what do you think what do you think happens to the stock price?
Oh, it might take a short-term hit, which will, I'll probably end up buying some more if it does that.
Okay.
But
let's
the thing that might
let's say it took a hit for 20%. You're buying more shares?
Almost certainly, I would.
Okay.
But something else might actually cause it to take a hit even more, which is Q2 numbers. But keep going.
That's okay. I mean, this is beyond that. I really want to focus the conversation and not get distracted by adjacent stuff. So let's say Elon vote failed. He left. Tesla stock takes a 20% hit. So now we're at about $450 billion of market cap. You're buying more shares. That means you believe.
No, I did not say that. If Elon leaves, I would sell my shares.
Huh. So I got you. So now your no vote is basically, I mean, that's quite a statement, Hamid. Your no vote is coming from, it's hinging on an assumption that he won't leave.
Correct. So Elon has a decision to make. If it actually does go no, meaning like his comp plan doesn't get approved, he has a decision to make, because nobody is taking him away from the CEO role or taking away power from him. All they're saying is, you're not getting this money. Now, his decision is going to have to be, am I so money hungry that I'm going to leave because of this no vote? Or am I going to continue to lead the greatest company to have ever existed that I created, which I still own $100 billion of, by the way.
Let me tell this.
So that's the decision he has to make. And my bet is that
no, that's not the decision. You're so wrong. You could not be more wrong. And here's why. If I were him and I heard you say that, I would say, I'm leaving, just based on that. And you voted no, I would just leave. And I would start another company and beat Tesla. And if you don't think that's possible, you're delusional, my friend. And I don't mean to disrespect you. I think that you mean well. I think that you care about Tesla and the mission. I do. I think that you believe the things you're saying, but I think you're making some very critical wrong assumptions.
Of course, you're entitled to your opinion. I think you're wrong, but those are all speculative. We won't know for sure either way until the vote happens, and then what happens happens.
Well, the thing is, though, at that point, it's too late for Tesla shareholders, right? If he ends up leaving, and I happen to think, like this morning, I was thinking because someone said Ken actually replied to one of my tweets about Rivian, and kind of got me thinking about it a little bit more because I say, I don't know if you've seen any of my tweets, but I say something like Tesla without Elon is Rivian. But I think that if Tesla left, if Elon left Tesla, and just assume for a second he took over Rivian, not only Tesla would become Rivian, Rivian will become Tesla in 5-10 years.
I don't think if Elon left, he would just go compete with Tesla under any circumstances. That just seems like a fantasy that would never happen because he's got other priorities. He still has SpaceX. He still wants to build this AI company.
He can't do all of the above. He can do all of the above.
He's doing all of the above, but to build a mass manufacturing company, it's not an overnight thing. I mean, it has taken Tesla nearly
that's why
over
I said
20 years to get to this point. But
that's why I said 10 years.
But he wouldn't want to start scratch on another car company to compete with his own car company that he already created. I mean, that's just not Elon. Like if you know anything about Elon, if you've been following him for so long, like this is not the way Elon operates. He has XAI, he has Neuralink, he has SpaceX. Each one of those things is unique in its thing. It has practically no real competition at the time that it started these things, that he started these things. So
you're so wrong.
He's not going to go and try to build a car manufacturing company for the next 10 years and relive that nightmare that he lived throughout his the early 2000s and 2015s and so on. So I think he's done with that. I don't think he's going to leave either.
Oh my gosh, man. I wish that you hadn't said that because, man, if there are people actually there are people like that who assume that Elon isn't going to leave if the vote doesn't pass. And if I were him, I would just do it just because just to show you. I would do it. Seriously.
Anyway. When you build a company, it's a very emotional thing, and you get attached to the company. I mean, in so many different
until
ways.
Someone tells you you don't own this company.
But no, they're not saying that. The vote is not about you don't own this company. It's about whether or not you should get this like outrageous pay compensation that is 30 times higher than any pay compensation in the history of the planet.
This guy
that's a fact.
Was promised. This guy was promised the comp plan. He operated under the assumption he's going to get the comp. He achieved all the targets, and now you're saying no, we're not going to pay you. Anyone on Earth would not like that. And I think
by the way,
that Elon is one of the few people. Elon's one of the few people, if any, more than one, who could actually leave and build it again.
Oh, I think he could. I just don't think he would. But let's be clear. He didn't achieve the all the targets. Over 100,000 employees of Tesla, along with him, achieved the targets. You're taking credit away from all the people.
No, I'm not.
Who were, by the way, in combination.
No, I'm not. That's not fair.
People.
That's not fair. No, sir, that's not fair. If it wasn't for Elon, 100,000 people, make it 200,000 people, they still wouldn't be able to do it. I'm not saying Elon built the cars by himself, but Elon is the critical ingredient. It's like having a tequila sunrise without the tequila. I'm not taking away from
Elon is the first one who would agree with you.
I wouldn't drink a tequila sunrise without the sunrise. That's just a tequila shot. But without tequila, you don't have a tequila sunrise.
That's an interesting analogy, but the point is that like compensation was deemed to be unfair, unbalanced, and not negotiated in good faith on behalf of shareholders. And I think that all of that is being put aside by people who think he should get whatever he wants, right? What if the company, like one of the points that was brought up is that shareholders approved it, and therefore, whatever shareholders approve is fair. Well, what if shareholders approve, like bribing, officials in order to win deals? If shareholders approve something like that, is that okay? No, it's not okay. I mean, like it can get struck down by a judge who says, no, this is sort of like not okay. So there are things that shareholders can do that is still not okay that like they can vote on. And this comp plan was one of them, right? Like it's a comp plan that was not justified based on the fact that it was not negotiated in good faith and it's unprecedented at these levels. And that those are just the facts. Like the CEO of like it's saying, for example, that the CEO of NVIDIA, right? Founder and CEO of NVIDIA, how much is he compensated for the past couple of years for NVIDIA just blowing up the way it
Doesn't
has?
matter. He's signing boobs. I mean, let me tell you one more thing. Let me tell you one more thing. In 2018, I was actually against this comp plan. And I don't know if you were on Tesla Motors Club at the time. I posted time and again for like a month or two that this comp plan is too much by 1-0. And that he would stay even if he was not
That's the
paid.
first thing you said that I agree with, by the way.
That's okay. I mean, you did say at the beginning you agree with me on everything I said. But anyway, so I said all those
No,
things.
no,
and if
actually,
you
your arguments are
I took,
excellent. Yeah, I do agree
okay,
with
thank you.
most of the things that
Let
you
me just
said.
finish my thoughts. So if you take all my posts from 2018, feed them into an LLM, and spit out, I think it would read like the judge's judgment. Okay. But what I learned after 2018 is that, and what the history has proven with hundreds of EV companies failing, I underestimated the founder and CEO's contribution to the outcome. I underestimated, just like the judge did, how critical Elon was to the outcome. And at the time, I had followers again. They were telling me that these followers, they were more focused on VC investing, and I was thinking more like a public company investing, where CEOs aren't as critical. Whereas in venture capital, they're a lot more critical, obviously. And Tesla is like a venture capital firm, even to this day, I think, with Optimus and robotaxis and everything. And Elon's very critical, even to Cybertruck. I think Elon's very critical. So I do think that he deserves the money. And not to mention that this is for services already provided. Okay, but if I could go back to 2018 and vote, I would vote yes for the comp plan now, even though at the time I thought this was too much by 1-0. What do you think about that?
I mean, I think again, it's one of those things where I agree with the arguments that you're making that he is critical and he has been instrumental to Tesla's success. And without him, all of these things I agree with. It's just that I don't agree that he should be compensated more than all other Tesla employees combined. We're talking about not 10 people combined, not the top 100 people combined, not the top 1,000 people combined, not the top 10,000 people combined, but the top 100, like all of them, all 100 and something thousand people combined, and as a multiple of that. So when you think about all of Tesla expenses, right? All of Tesla expenses.
Well, that's not a fair comparison, and here's why. Here's why
under
it's not.
10
That's
billion
not. That's not.
a year.
Let me just explain real quick. That's not fair because a lot of the people that you're including in that all of the other group is getting paid cash. Okay, it's the same thing as if you buy shares versus if you buy options. Your upside with the options is higher, all else equal, right? because otherwise you don't get paid anything. So he's taking a bit of a risk as well on top of that. So I don't think that's a fair comparison, but go ahead.
Yeah, but like that doesn't mean the options are not worth something. But the options at the time that were granted to him were worth over 2 billion. But going back to sort of like the comp, there isn't any person on the planet who wouldn't take that comp package based on sort of potential of the company doing really well. But coming back to this sort of point that when you take all of Tesla's other expenses, they're roughly 10 billion a year, and this particular comp package is roughly almost 6 years worth of all other Tesla expenses. So you're talking about like basically one person and all of Tesla's payroll and other expenses being sort of like on par with one another.
I guess again, it's not a fair comparison because of the cash component. And further, you made a actually wrong statement, false statement, that it was worth $2 billion at the time. That is also not correct. It became $2 billion worth because he achieved those targets.
No. It became worth over 5.8 billion. You take the accounting hit based on the value. Like if you were to, for example,
you clearly have not looked at how the accounting is done on these things. If you go back to the 10Qs, they recognized these expenses, non-cash expenses that accumulate to $2 billion figure that you're talking about over time as Tesla achieved the milestones. So when you said your statement was it was worth $2 billion at the time when it was given, that is a false statement.
How much was it worth, Yaman?
I mean, at the time, worth nothing. It's zero.
Well, saying that options are not worth. For example, if you go buy options right now on Tesla, for Tesla to hit like let's say $400 a share, the options today, exercising them today would be worth zero, but to buy them, you actually have to pay something for them, right? That is the value of the option. They use Black-Scholes formula to calculate the value of options.
Have you ever done a Black-Scholes calculation? Have you ever run
Yes, we had to do it
model?
for my company. We had to do. I mean, like stock options is pretty common. It's like it doesn't have zero value. That was the problem that companies used to like acknowledge zero value for options.
Listen, GAAP accounting that you cited earlier says it was zero because they don't recognize it does. They did not recognize the expense that you're talking about, the $2 billion expense they only recognize it over time.
That's right. You
as Tesla hit the milestones.
Because usually it's based on a vesting period, right? So, like for example, you give these options over
no.
It's not because
of the vesting. It's because it was more likely than not that Tesla was going to hit those milestones. You clearly have not read the language on 10Q over the years.
Feel free to share it to me in a DM or something.
You know where the 10Q is. You know where the 10Q is. Look it up. Over the years, Tesla recognized those expenses that added up to $2 billion, non-cash expense over time, not when it was announced and given, not when the comp plan was agreed upon. He earned those options as Tesla stock hit the milestones. Both the revenue, adjusted EBITDA, and the market cap milestones. He wasn't handed $2 billion.
No, he was handed $2 billion worth of options, but yeah.
Yeah, and he had to hit the milestones for that to be recognized.
Tesla had to hit the milestones, but yeah.
Yeah. So you're telling me that without Elon, Tesla could have hit those milestones?
No, but even with Elon, for example, for the past couple of years, it hasn't hit any major milestones, right? So like one person can only do so much, right? Like he hasn't had this complete trajectory based on from 2018 to 2022 that he's had since 2022 to now, right? And the reason for that 2018 to 2022 incredible growth of Tesla was largely due to the Model 3, which was largely built prior to 2018, and the Model Y, which came right after, based on the same platform.
What are you? Those are extremely wrong statements. The Model 3 production ramp did not reach 5,000 a week until later in 2018, and then in 2019 they had to fight for their life as they were sending it to Europe. In early 2019, they were sending it to Europe. They had to introduce this mid-range battery at the end of 2018 because they ran out of backlog, and the stock halved in early 2019. Okay, and further today, Tesla is still making the adjusted EBITDA numbers at the top tier of that comp plan, top milestone. Where is the money coming from? It's not coming from Model 3. It's coming from the Model Y. The Model Y did not start until end of 2019 and ramped through 2020. It took Elon to fight with the politicians to keep the factory running during COVID, when everybody else was having supply disruptions. It took a leader to kind of step up and navigate the company. Do you think that Tesla could have made through COVID without Elon? That is wild.
You project things that I haven't said. I'm not saying that like
you're essentially saying that. You're saying that Model 3 was built before this comp plan was agreed upon, and that's why Tesla made the milestone. That's what you said.
Yes, the Model 3 came out in 2017. The ramp was accelerated in 2018 pretty heavily. And what I said is Tesla's rise in stock price and revenue growth and quantity of cars delivered was largely due to the Model 3 and then later the Model Y.
So you're so wrong. Tesla
those are
stock
just
price
facts.
did not.
Those are not even disputable.
Those are not facts. Those are not facts. You can't
the Model
go
3
back
and
and
the Model
say
Y is the reason.
No, you're wrong. Model Y started at the end of 2019.
That's
it's
right.
ramped throughout 2020.
I'm talking about from 2018 to today. The reason that Tesla has grown the way it has is because of the Model 3 and Model Y. I mean, like that's just a statement.
Well, you said Model 3. Now you're changing your words.
I said in 2018, when the comp plan was given, was because of the Model 3. In 2019, a little later, the Model Y was introduced on the same platform as the Model 3, which is those two vehicles are the reason for Tesla's incredible growth over those 2018 to 2022 period. Those were my words. So
you said
feel free to go back through the transcript.
You first,
but
I can't. But you said Model 3, Hamid. You said Model 3 first. Now you're changing your words.
No, I said
now
Model
you're adding
3
Model Y
in 2018,
in there, and you're saying, "Oh, it's based on the same platform, so it's easy to ramp." That's what you're saying, basically. Right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah,
it is.
But look, ask RJ how easy is R1S.
I think you're conflating a lot of things. What I'm saying is that like 2018 to 2022 was the rise in that time frame was not because of the comp plan. It was because of the Model 3 and the Model Y. From 2022 to today, Elon has still been the CEO of the company, yet there has been no rise in quantity of vehicles delivered. And
Tesla is still producing the adjusted
Y.
EBITDA. Tesla is still producing the adjusted EBITDA and the revenue figures to this day, with top milestone agreed upon. Okay, so the fundamentals of the company are still there.
Right, but because of the Model 3 and Model Y. Yeah, go for it.
Machine.
So I partially agree with Hamid here. The fact is that most of the actual revenue growth was based on 3 and Y, which were well on their way.
That's not what he said. He said Model 3. His original point was Model 3 was built before 2018.
I'm saying Model 3 and Y.
You can agree with his later points that Model Y was included, but you can't. The original point was Model 3.
And those things were well on their way. 2018, 2019. You could argue Elon Musk slept in the factory.
Model Y was not on the way in 2018. What are you talking about? Well on their way in 2018?
I think
what are you talking about?
Well, I know you get confused by because the CEO likes to obfuscate. I can't pronounce likes to muddle things in his comments. For instance, when he pretended he didn't know where the Model Y was going to be produced 6 months before it began production. Do you know how?
I remember that, but the difficult part is ramping the production, not knowing where it's going to be produced.
So my point is is
Machine,
that
your points, your quality of your points need to
I
get
think
10x better this second, or I'm going to the next person.
you're just interrupting people left and right recently. He did not. The Model Y was developed in 2018, 2019. Okay, so the point just being that a lot of that work was already done at that time. I disagree, however, that those alone would have caused the rapid rise in stock price, because while the stock price would have gone higher than it was in 2018, a lot of the peak in stock price in 2020 and 2021 especially was due to overall hype around EVs, low interest rates, acid inflation, and Musk pumping things like 20 million EVs a year, FSD coming around the corner. And so there was a lot of excitement about that. So on one hand, his contribution obviously was important, but I think to your point, I think a lot of the contribution to the actual production lines, was already actually probably done mostly by 2018, early 2019. But he pumped the stock. Okay.
All right, enough. Wessex.
Yeah, just the reasoning by analogy is just killing me. But I just do want to. I do want to take issue with one point with Hamid. One of those examples, using the 100,000 plus people that are in the company, and saying that his compensation is even more than that. I think you need to remember, and you and I are both CEOs, and neither of us have built a company that has 100,000 people in it. Elon started; he was one of 5 people. So all those 100,000 people that you're saying it would be unfair for Elon to get compensation, none of them would have jobs if not for Elon Musk. None of them. This company wouldn't exist like it is. So again, using
Let's give him 100% of the company based on that argument.
What? That's not my argument.
That's not. Nobody's claiming that. No one is saying.
What percent is too much?
That's not what Elon's asking for. That's not what Elon's asking for.
This $58 billion comp package is roughly 10% or 12% of the company. What percentage is too much? Let me ask that question.
Hamid,
What percent?
Yaman,
what percentage do you think is too much? Like if the comp package was around 50%,
I can answer that.
Would that be too much?
Listen, I got your question. I can answer that question in the context of another company. I think this company is too important to even put a max figure on the percentage. Okay, but let's say for the purpose of discussion, what company would be too much? What percent paying what percent to a CEO would be too much? I think that depends on every single company, every single CEO, and maybe let's say to the extent that it would make me switch my investment dollars to another company, from company A to company B, that would be too much.
If Jensen tomorrow says, you know what, in order for me to be the CEO of NVIDIA, remain the CEO and not go do this stuff at some other company, I want 25% of the company. Would that be too much for you?
Well, it's not up to me. I'm not an NVIDIA investor. But
well, I'm just asking you, is that too much? As an outsider, you might have more objectivity when it comes to NVIDIA than you do of Tesla because you are a Tesla investor.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person here. I don't think NVIDIA is worth $3 trillion. I think they're more worth.
But it doesn't matter. Let me ask. It doesn't matter what it's worth because his pay would be based on a percentage of the company anyway. So if it goes down to 1 trillion, then his pay automatically gets cut in third.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong person. I actually don't have a high opinion of Jensen. So you're asking the wrong person. But my answer to you was.
But there is a number.
Elon is asking for 25%. Elon is asking for 25%. If he was asking for 50%, I would still say that we should do that because
that's
Tesla does not. Tesla, the reason between you and me, the difference between you and me is that you believe, as we discussed earlier, that Tesla has reached escape velocity. I believe without Elon, there is no Tesla. So do you want half the company or do you want 100% zero?
I mean, certainly it wouldn't be zero, but
no, there's no certainty.
But also,
I think that certainly it would be zero. And you didn't even know what the free cash flow number is, Hamid. You didn't even know the company's fundamentals. So how can you say
I
Certainly,
follow
it
it
wouldn't be
pretty closely.
zero.
I said I don't know it off the top of my head, but also the gap
You compare
profitability is
Tesla
an
to Apple. Apple was making tens of billions of dollars a year when Steve Jobs died. Tesla is at break even. You didn't know that difference, and you still haven't answered my point on that front. And now
what
you're
is your
making
question?
certainly it wouldn't be zero. What evidence can you give me that Tesla has reached escape velocity when you compare it
It's
to
been
Apple?
profitable for 4 years. I mean, that was the evidence. You
Q1 it's
asked for
not.
it, and
Q1 it's not.
no, from a
Losing
free
money.
cash flow perspective, it's not. But again, you also conflate this sort of like the pay plan to Elon being cost free, and it comes at a
On
cost
the
of
free cash
dilution.
flow discussion, it is
But
cost free. This is free
n-
cash flow discussion. Liquidity, bankruptcy, those are cash
but
flow
for example,
discussions.
when a company sells a bunch of shares, that's not cost free. Like even from a free cash flow perspective, like you have to take that into consideration that you just got diluted. So if you got 50% diluted, that means the company has to its stock price has to double in order
I
for
mean,
it to.
your accounting is not your background, is it?
You're hilarious. Yeah, man.
Is it not true? Is that not
No,
true?
I actually do have a pretty strong accounting background as well, which is
Okay,
why
what
I
is your
understand
accounting
this stuff
background?
pretty well.
What is your accounting?
And I've been the CEO of multiple companies. But
Yeah, I don't think that's a good basis for a good accounting background. We have 5 hands
well,
and 10 minutes left. 6 hands.
when all else fails, attack the person rather than the arguments. Good job, Yaman.
Because your arguments
Have a
are
good day,
shit,
buddy.
and you're claiming accounting expertise when you had none. Ahmed, go ahead.
I just had a question for Hamid. With all the companies that you did run, I mean, were any of he left already? But like as an owner of a company, if you made a deal, like he seems like he sells earnings reports or something like that now. If you made a deal with somebody for research, and you delivered the research, and you're supposed to get paid a percentage of what that research does for whoever's buying it for you, and then they execute, they make 10 times the money, and then they decide not to pay you, how would you feel? Like, are you just gonna just be okay with that?
Lauren.
Yeah, I think an important bit of context too on when you're talking about what percentage of the company Elon was given was, back when this deal was made, Tesla was arguably in a huge bubble and, valued as high as Toyota practically, or, it was valued as high as half the OEM car companies, even though it was making a fraction of the cars. And the goals set in this package were just unprecedented, that it would, be many times
This
bigger
is not
than the
new
largest.
information. This is not new information. Sorry, I have to move on. Nick.
Thanks for having me on. I did want to bring up Yaman, I know you mentioned in 2018 that you were against the vote, and now you're obviously for it. Just to play a little devil's advocate, for somebody that did support it and now is against it, do you think that it's hypocritical to have a change of opinion, from yes to no or no to yes, or do you think that only yeses should be allowed? That was my first question. And then I wanted to mention that Machine made a great point that there was this perfect storm of the Model Y being announced in 2019 with the release in 2020. And at that time, two popular EVs being the 3 and Y came out when EVs really took off. My main concern now, though, is EV sales are down across the board. VW, Ford, GM, Tesla, and Mercedes are cutting production of EVs, quote unquote, due to high interest rates.
So what's your point?
Well, yet today we're seeing that Toyota, for example, is setting all of these sales records across the board for ICE vehicles. So my question is, do you think there's a concern, obviously, with the stock being down, with EV sales being down, which is causing people to want to, regardless of him hitting the goals, this is why people are now changing
Yeah,
their votes
we
from
talked
yes or
about
no.
this already. Of course, this turned into a public referendum on Elon. It went beyond it being like, we should pay him, even though that is the actual point. We should pay him for service provided, but it's definitely more, the vote is more than that. Machine.
I've said that I'm still thinking, we should vote for his compensation plan. I would note one caveat, which I don't remember all the details, Yaman, but you could probably remember. Does he, if that plan was current today, would Tesla fulfill all the points, the data points, the EBITDA and whatever else added as it's operating today in 2024?
I think revenue and adjusted EBITDA numbers are still fully met.
Okay. But, one point is where I disagree is, he's already kind of setting up for a future compensation plan, or at least getting the voting rights. I have no problem with the voting rights, but I think, this sort of leverage being put on for getting the next compensation plan is more of an issue. And I just think, Tesla investors need to be careful that they're not falling under the Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, so I rarely go for personal insults, but again, I think that he didn't have the accurate figures. First of all, he's saying that it's 30% higher than any executive plan, and then he's saying 2.3 billion, which is again false. He's saying that he's being paid more than every other guy at the company, which again is also false based on 2018 numbers. And I think he has voted no earlier without understanding what he was doing, and he has backed himself into a corner at this point in the space.
Yeah, he made a lot of false statements, but I mean, he's a Rivian investor. Like, what do you expect? Pennington.
And it's also important to remember this vote could pass, his compensation passes, Tesla uses it in their appeal, but it still gets voted down in appeals court. So we're right back in the drawing board. So what Tesla shareholders have had to deal with for the last 6 months could continue for at least through the balance of this year. So this seems like an ad hoc approach to a much larger problem that really requires a comprehensive plan by the board, but shareholders have absolutely no idea what that is. Because all we're dealing with is a simple question, which in of itself is not an answer.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have plans, plan Bs, plan Cs for early contingency. I think assume that they don't is ridiculous, but they don't have to share it at this point. What's in front of us for the next 9 days or so is clear. Next week, very clear. Machine.
Yeah, just looking at the comp plan graph, I think based on market cap and also EBITDA, I think the last two tranches would not be qualified for currently. I think maybe
Okay. What's the? Tell me the adjusted EBITDA. Tell me the adjusted EBITDA one.
He needs to. The last two are 12 billion and 14 billion. I assume that's.
And what's the last 12-month adjusted EBITDA?
It's the last 14 billion. For currently, yeah, it's the last 12 months right now.
Okay.
12, but it's going down. So that's kind of.
No, you're assuming it's going down. That's a forecast. Okay. I said last 12 months.
That's pretty common sense, but yeah.
That's not common sense. That's not common sense. You're making a forecast.
Of course it is. Of course it is, because we know what it was a year ago, and we can accurately, at least confidently project out what earnings and all these the financials are going to be with some margin of error for this quarter.
See,
and they're going to be less than a year
first
ago.
of all,
give me a break.
Earlier you made the point that in 2020 Tesla stock benefited from a hype around EVs. If you're going to do that, you also have to recognize today interest rates are at restrictive levels. There's tremendous brakes being applied to the economy. So you can't make a forecast on those interest rates and assume that's the earnings power of the company.
No, sorry.
I urge you to get your head out of this short-term trading mentality and zoom out about the fundamentals of the company. This is literally the reason why we went at it yesterday at the end of the space. And it's the same reason, because you just can't look beyond more than few days.
You're creating a straw man. I'm not talking about long term. I didn't say long term. I didn't say 4 years.
You're saying ignore. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen when interest rates are down to, say, a percent or two to the normal level of about 3%? 3.5%
I'm not
from
talking.
5.5.
I agree. I agree. We'll go back up. I'm talking about the next
Okay.
few quarters. It's going to go under the 12 billion trailing 12 months.
Yeah, so
threshold.
we're not going to. You can't judge Elon's performance on one quarter or next 12 months. You have to look at the fundamental earnings power of the company if you're going to look at adjusted EBITDA. Okay.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
And even if you do it with your stupid way, he still achieved 8, 9 of the tranches. Okay. Yeah, there's this misunderstanding. Like, I definitely urge people to read the tweet at the top. There's this, I think, misconception that Tesla has reached escape velocity. And that's why people are voting no. Some people, like Hamid, are voting no to this comp plan because they don't realize this company can go down to zero without Elon. The probability of Tesla going to zero without Elon is not zero. I think it's actually likely. Okay. He said a lot of people, like I said in that tweet, a lot of people say, look at Apple. When Steve Jobs died, Apple survived, but they don't realize. And Hamid didn't know the numbers around Tesla. He didn't know the numbers around Apple when Steve Jobs died. The fact is, Apple was making tens of billions of dollars in profits when Steve Jobs passed the baton to Tim Cook. Tesla is not at that point. Tesla is at break even with all the cost cutting that Elon has done over the years. So we're going to end it there. Thank you very much, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Yaman.